everyone. My name is Shauna Singh and I warmly welcome you all to my channel. I am an English teacher by profession and a student of English literature by passion. I have completed my post graduation in English as well as in education, and teaching English has been the most meaningful and fulfilling part of my journey. For me, English literature is not just a subject, it is my love, my strength, and my identity. I truly enjoy reading literary texts, understanding writers and their times, and explaining complex literary ideas in a simple, clear, and student friendly way so that every learner can understand and connect with literature easily. So, in this video, I will explain Geoffrey Chaucer in a very simple and clear English so that even beginners can understand easily. And at the same time, it will be helpful for advanced learners as well. This is part 1 of the series. Today, we will focus only on the most important and basic points so that your concepts become clear and strong. In my upcoming videos and shorts, we will complete the full study of Geoffrey Chaucer in detail. We will discuss all his major works, the three kings of Chaucer's lifetime, and important historical events, and some other major social and literary influences of his time, of his age, and we will understand each topic step by step, covering all important facts, concepts, and exam oriented points. This topic is extremely important for students preparing for TGT, PGT, GIC lecturer, NET, PhD, and all English competitive exams. Understanding Chaucer helps us understand the foundation of English language and literature. So let us begin this journey step by step in a very simple and clear way. Who was Geoffrey Chaucer? Now let us understand who Geoffrey Chaucer was and why he is given such important titles in English literature. Geoffrey Chaucer is known as the father of English poetry, the father of English literature, and the father of the English language. These titles are not given just for respect. They clearly show his great contribution to English studies. Before Chaucer, more serious and important literary works in England were written in Latin or French. English was seen as a simple, common language. It was mainly spoken by ordinary people and was not considered suitable for literature. But Chaucer changed this thinking completely. He proved that English can be used to express deep ideas, human feelings, humor, social life, and real human experiences. Through his writings, English became a strong and respected language for literature, just like Latin and French. Because of this great contribution, Chaucer is called the father of English poetry, the father of English literature, and the father of English language. Chaucer gave confidence, respect, and importance to the English language. That is why he holds such a special and important place in the history of English language. Why is he given such great titles? Now, the important question is why is Geoffrey Chaucer given such great titles? The reason is very simple and very clear. Before Geoffrey Chaucer, most important literary works in England were written in Latin and French. English was spoken by common people, but it was not respected as a language of literature, education, or scholarship. Geoffrey Chaucer changed this situation completely. He started writing serious poetry and literary works in English, and he proved that English is capable of expressing deep thoughts, emotions, humor, and real human life. Through his writings, English slowly became a powerful and respected literary English language. People began to read, understand, and appreciate literature written in English. That is why Chaucer is given such great titles. He did not only write poetry, he raised the status of the English language itself. As we have already discussed before, Geoffrey Chaucer, Latin and French were considered superior languages for literature and learning. English was not treated as an important literary language at the time, but Chaucer proved that English can also be a powerful literary language. Now, let us understand the life and age of Geoffrey Chaucer. Because this part is very important for examinations, Geoffrey Chaucer lived approximately between 1340 and 1400. These dates place him in the Middle English period of English literature. Chaucer was born and lived mainly in London. London was the political, cultural, and social center of England at the time. Living in London helped Chaucer closely observe court life, common people, and different social classes, which later appeared very clearly in his writings. Because Chaucer dominated the literary scene of his time, this period is known as the Age of Chaucer. He was the most important literary figure of this age, and no other writer of his time had such influence. So, whenever we study the Middle English period, we automatically associate it with Geoffrey Chaucer. That is why the years 1340 to 1400 are commonly referred to as the age of Chaucer in English literary history. Now let us understand why Geoffrey Chaucer is called the morning star of the Renaissance. First of all, we should remember that the English Renaissance had not fully begun during Chaucer's time. It came much later, mainly in the 16th century. However, Chaucer's writings already showed the spirit of Renaissance, the essence of Renaissance, and that is why he is called its morning star, the one who appeared before sunrise. Chaucer's work show humanism. This means that instead of focusing only on religion or abstract ideas, he focused on human beings. In his writings, we find real human life, human emotions, society and social classes, love and relationships, humor, and even human psychology. These qualities are the main features of Renaissance literature. So, even though Chaucer belonged to the Middle English period, his outlook was modern and forward looking. He prepared the ground for the English Renaissance, which developed fully after him. That is why Geoffrey Chaucer is rightly called the morning star of the English Renaissance. Now let us look at Geoffrey Chaucer's profession and life experience because this helps us understand his writing better. Geoffrey Chaucer was not only a poet, he was also a courtier, a diplomat, and a customs officer. As a courtier, he lived close to the royal court. This gave him a deep understanding of court life, nobility, power, and politics. As a diplomat, he traveled to different countries and met people from different cultures. Because of this, his outlook became broad, mature, and worldly. As a customs officer, he worked closely with traders, merchants, and common people. This job allowed him to observe everyday human behavior, including honesty, greed, humor, and weakness. Because of these varied experiences, Chaucer understood Chaucer understood all sections of society from the highest to the lowest. That is why his characters appear real, lively, and believable, not imaginary or artificial. Now, let us understand the literary influences on Geoffrey Chaucer. No great writer's works in isolation, and the same is true for Chaucer. His writings his writing was influenced by different literary traditions, but he used them creatively, not blindly. First, Chaucer was influenced by French literature. From French writers, he learned courtly love, romance, allegory, and poetic style, which are clearly visible in his early works. Second, Chaucer was deeply influenced by Italian writers, especially Dante, Boccaccio, and Petrarch. From Dante, he learned moral seriousness and depth of thought. From Boccaccio, he learned storytelling, realism, and narrative technique. From Petrarch, he learned human emotions and lyrical expressions. Third, Chaucer was also influenced by Latin writers. From them, he gained classical learning, structure, and philosophical ideas. However, one very important point must be remembered. Chaucer did not copy these writers. He absorbed their ideas and created original literature in English. That is why Chaucer is considered a bridge between European literature and English literature. Now let us understand the language used by Geoffrey Chaucer, which is a very important topic for examinations. Geoffrey Chaucer wrote his works in Middle English. Middle English developed after the Norman conquest and was formed by the mixing of Old English and Old French. Old English was spoken by the Anglo-Saxons and Old French was introduced by the Normans. Over time, these two languages mixed and the result was Middle English, the language used by Chaucer. Although Middle English may look similar to modern English in spelling, but its pronunciation was quite different. The most important point is that Chaucer chose English instead of Latin or French for serious literature. By doing this, he made English acceptable, respectable, and powerful as a literary language. That is why Chaucer is remembered not only as a poet, but also a language maker who helped shape the development of English. Now let us briefly look at the death and burial of Geoffrey Chaucer, which is also an important factual detail of for examinations. Geoffrey Chaucer died in the year 1400. With his death, one of the greatest foundations of English literature came to an end. He was buried in Poets' Corner, Westminster Abbey. This place is reserved for great literary figures of England. An important point to be remembered is that Chaucer was the first poet to be buried in Poets' Corner. Later, many famous writers were buried or memorialized there, but Chaucer was the one who began this tradition. His burial in Westminster Abbey shows the high respect and honor given to him, not only as a poet, but also as a national literary figure. Now let us come to the most important work of Geoffrey Chaucer, which is the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales is Chaucer's greatest and most famous work. Whenever Chaucer is discussed in exams or literary history, this work is always given top priority. This work is a collection of stories told by a group of pilgrims. These pilgrims are traveling from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine of St. Thomas Becket. There are 29 pilgrims, and Chaucer himself is also one of them, so there are 30 characters in total. Each pilgrim belongs to a different social class, such as the knight, monk, wife of Bath, miller, and many others. Each character tells a story, and through these stories, Chaucer presents a clear picture of medieval English society. Chaucer's original plan was each pilgrim would tell two stories on the way to Canterbury and two stories on the way back. So the total number of stories was supposed to be 120. However, Chaucer could complete only 24 tales because he died before finishing the work. An interesting point is that the pilgrims agree on the storytelling contest. The pilgrim who narrates the best story will win a prize. The prize is a free dinner to be paid by to be paid for by all the other pilgrims at the Tabard Inn. And some important details of this the Canterbury Tales. It represents all sections of society. It shows real human nature. It includes humor, satire, realism, and psychology. It is written in Middle English, so common people could understand it. Because of this work, Chaucer is often called the first great realist of English literature. We will study the Canterbury Tales in details in upcoming videos, including its structure, themes, characters, and exam-oriented questions. Now let us look at another important work of Geoffrey Chaucer titled The Book of Duchess. The Book of the Duchess is one of the Chaucer's early works. It is written as an elegy, which means a poem written to express grief and sorrow, pain after death. This poem was written in memory of Blanche of Lancaster, the wife of John of Gaunt, who was Chaucer's patron. Through this poem, Chaucer shows sympathy, sadness, and deep emotional feeling. The poem is written in the form of dream vision. In the dream, the poet meets a man who is mourning the death of his wife. Through this meeting, Chaucer clearly shows the pain of personal loss in a very gentle and touching way. So, the Book of the Duchess helps us understand Chaucer's growth as a poet and his ability to write about serious human emotions in a simple and effective manner. And we will discuss this poem in much more detail in our upcoming video in a clearer, deeper, and more interesting way. Now let us look at the another important work of Geoffrey Chaucer titled The Parliament of Fowls. The Parliament of Fowls is a dream vision poem. In this poem, Chaucer describes a dream where birds meet in a parliament to talk about love and marriage. Each bird represents a different type of human nature and a different attitude towards love. Through these birds, Chaucer shows various opinions and choices related to relationships. The main theme of the poem is love, choice, and freedom. This poem shows Chaucer's wisdom, imagination, and gentle humor in a simple way. And it says that this poem says that true love should be based on free will, not force. Now let us move to another very important major work of Geoffrey Chaucer titled Troilus and Cressida. Troilus and Cressida is a long narrative poem and one of Chaucer's most mature and serious works. It is a tragic love story set during the Trojan War. This poem tells the story of a Troilus, a Trojan prince, and Cressida, whom he deeply loves. Their love begins happily, but because of separation and human weakness, it finally ends in tragedy. In this work, Chaucer represents characters as real human beings full of emotions, doubts, hopes, and fears. He explored themes like love, fate, loyalty, and inner conflict. Although this poem is influenced by Boccaccio, Chaucer makes it more emotional, thoughtful, and human. Now let us look at another major work of Geoffrey Chaucer titled The House of Fame. The House of Fame is a dream vision poem written by Chaucer. In this poem, the poet dreams that he is taken by an eagle to a strange place, a very strange place called the House of Fame. This place represents fame, reputation, and public opinions. Chaucer shows how fame is uncertain and unreliable. Some people become famous without merit, while others remain unknown despite good work. This poem is important because it uses dream allegory, shows Chaucer's imagination and humor, and reflects on truth, fame, and human behavior. The House of Fame makes us think about how and why people become famous. Now look at another major work of Geoffrey Chaucer titled The Legend of Good Women. The Legend of Good Women is a narrative poem by Chaucer. In this work, Chaucer tells stories of faithful and virtuous women from history and mythology. The poem praises women who were true in love and suffered because of men's betrayal. Through these stories, Chaucer highlights female loyalty, sacrifice, and goodness. This work is important because it focuses on women as central characters, and it shows moral values and sympathy, and it also reflects Chaucer's respect for women. And the legend of good women honors good and loyal women and their strength in love. Why Geoffrey is so important? Geoffrey Chaucer is called the father of English literature because he laid the foundation of English writing. He wrote serious literature in Middle English, not only Latin or French, so common people could understand it. Because of Chaucer, English became a respected literary language. He introduced realism by creating characters who feel, think, and behave like real human beings. Chaucer showed all social classes of society, from rich to poor. That is why he influenced all later English writers and remains very important in English literature. Three kings of Chaucer's lifetime. Geoffrey Chaucer lived during the reign of three English kings, so his life and career was closely connected with royal courts. First was Edward III, 1327 to 1377. He had a very close and good relationship with Chaucer. Chaucer served in his court and received royal favor and support. Second was Richard II, 1377 to 1399, during whose reign Chaucer continued his court service and writing. Third was Henry IV, 1399 to 1413, who came to the throne near the end of Chaucer's life. So, Chaucer's works reflect the political and social life of these three reigns. So this was the complete explanation of Geoffrey Chaucer for you. In the upcoming videos, we will discuss Chaucer's major works in detail. along with exam-oriented topics, important questions, and clear explanation for competitive exams. If you are preparing for TGT, PGT, GIC lecturer, NET, PhD, or any English competitive examination, make sure you follow this series carefully. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this explanation helpful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. More exam-oriented videos on Geoffrey Chaucer major works and important questions are coming very soon. Thank you once again and happy learning.